Hello, all you freedom-loving people. There's still much speculation if taxpayers will receive a DOGE dividend check and whether the gold is still in Fort Knox, and now Australia wants to make Aussie great again. Okay, let's get into it. The Senate has confirmed Kash Patel to lead the FBI in a 51-49 vote. Patel had widespread support of Republicans, even Mitch McConnell, who argued that the Trump nominee would reform the nation's top law enforcement agency after decades of corruption. Patel has been a vocal critic of the FBI. Patel worked in several roles during the first Trump administration, including acting deputy director of national intelligence. In prior comments, Patel said that he wanted to clean out the Bureau's headquarters in Washington, D.C. as a part of a mission to dismantle the deep state. Patel has also vowed to expose the Epstein client list. Yesterday, we mentioned that President Trump and Elon Musk are expected to discuss sending a $5,000 check to taxpayers, and several viewers gave feedback. Some of our viewers commented that they need or wanted the check right away. Rose Barrett wrote, "Please do send us stimulus checks, badly needed. Thank you, Trump, USA." Or Sam Master joked, "I don't care what you say, I needed that $5,000 check to be in my bank account ASAP. Thanks, Rose and Sam and the others for the comments. That encouraged us to dig into the topic more. In an interview with Fox, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the DOGE team has identified about $50 billion in savings so far. He said that's a very good start. Earlier, DOGE also stated on its website that the team's total savings are estimated at $55 billion already. It also published details of $17 billion of those savings. According to data on DOGE's website, the largest amount of savings continues to come from the U.S. Agency for International Development, the USAID, followed by the Department of Education. In addition, the Office of Personnel Management, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Homeland Security. So where did the idea of checks come from? Yesterday, we explained that businessman James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria, posted a 4-page memo on X. He suggested a DOGE dividend. His plan is to take 20% of the savings found by DOGE and send it back to hardworking Americans as a tax refund check. It was their money in the first place. If DOGE achieves its goal of cutting $2 trillion in federal spending, 20% of that is about a $5,000 refund per household, with the remainder used to pay down the national debt. His post on X caught the attention of Elon Musk. Musk responded on Tuesday night by saying, "We'll check with the president." But Scott Adams has a different opinion. He raised concerns that the DOGE dividend should result in the government using the DOGE savings as a piggy bank. Then Musk rescinded on Wednesday morning by saying that balancing the budget should be the focus of DOGE's efforts. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the federal government will have a budget deficit of more than $1.8 trillion in 2024. Some of our viewers had the same idea. They suggested paying the national debt with the money. Alan Ferry wrote, "Put the money toward the debt," and Karen Martin suggested the same by asking, instead of $5,000, how about paying off the national debt? Thanks, Karen and Alan, for your comments. But yesterday, President Trump continued to talk about DOGE dividends. He said there's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down the debt. And Fishback is currently in contact with the Trump administration about its proposal. And today, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said that the checks will be legislated through a reconciliation bill. Since Monday, there's been speculation about whether Elon Musk will audit the U.S. gold reserves at Fort Knox. Fort Knox is officially called the U.S. Bullion Depository. It is estimated that Fort Knox holds more than 147 million troy ounces, worth approximately $425 billion at the current value. It represents 56.35% of the U.S.'s federal government's gold reserves. These gold reserves come from a variety of sources, including the U.S. government's purchase of gold from other countries during World War II, from international settlements and trade, and from mining. The last time Fort Knox was audited was in 1974, more than 50 years ago. For years, there have been calls for the U.S. government to perform a comprehensive audit of Fort Knox. Over the weekend, one ex-user suggested that Elon Musk should make sure that the gold is still in Fort Knox. Musk said in response to the user, surely it's reviewed at least every year. Then Senator Rand Paul answered, nope, let's do it. Senator Mike Lee also joined the conversation, saying that he had repeatedly tried to get into Fort Knox but was told he couldn't. He posted, as a U.S. Senator, I've tried repeatedly to get into Fort Knox. Fort Knox would say, you can't come into Fort Knox. And he would say, why? Fort Knox would say, it's a military installation. And he would say, I'm a senator. I go to military bases all the time. And Fort Knox would say, you still can't come in because you can't. Then Musk said in reply, who is confirming that gold wasn't stolen from Fort Knox? Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. That gold is owned by the American public. We want to know if it's still there. I sure hope it's still there. Alex Jones was quick to jump in, reporting that DOGE goons would probe the depository's missing gold. Although 1974 was the most recent credible audit, apparently in August of 2017, Senator Mitch McConnell led a small group of officials, including then Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, into the vault for an inspection. After that visit, the government made public only a few blurry black and white photos showing Mnuchin standing in front of the bullion, but they did not provide a detailed report. Musk suggested it would be cool to do a live video walkthrough of Fort Knox, and Rand Paul told Fox News on Monday, I think some of them may not think it needs to be audited all the time, but I think the more sunlight, the better, more transparency, the better. On Wednesday, President Trump backed Musk's plan to audit the gold reserve at Fort Knox. President Trump said on Air Force One, we're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there. Egg prices are soaring in the U.S. The average price of eggs at the end of January was $5.29 per dozen. Not only is the price high, but the supply is also limited. Major supermarkets in the U.S. have begun to limit the purchase of eggs. The main cause of this phenomenon is the avian bird flu. The avian flu epidemic, which started in 2022, has reportedly killed about 160 million chickens, turkeys, and other birds. As a response, the U.S. Department of Agriculture conditionally approved the use of an avian influenza vaccine in poultry by the animal health company Zoetis. In the face of supply constraints, U.S. companies have been seeking alternative import suppliers because it takes several months for a chick to be born and ready to lay eggs. You can't passively wait for newborn chickens to grow up. This led to negotiations with Turkish producers. Turkey is one of the world's top 10 egg exporters. Turkey has begun exporting about 15,000 tons of eggs to the U.S., and they will continue to do so until July, a Turkish industry leader said on Wednesday. So, although the price of eggs may remain high, I can still have my bacon and eggs for breakfast. Relations between the U.S. and Russia are gradually normalizing. Following the talks between the delegations in the Saudi capital Riyadh on Tuesday, Russian President Putin positively assessed the first round of talks between the two delegations. He said that Russia had resumed cooperation with the United States in a number of areas of common interest, including the Middle East. He said, yes, I have been informed. I rate them highly. There are results. In my opinion, we made the first step to restore work in various areas of mutual interest. The goal and theme of the Riyadh talks is the restoration of Russian-American trust. It's impossible to resolve the Ukrainian crisis without increasing the level of trust between Russia and the United States. He said that members of the Russian delegation told him that the U.S. side had sent completely different people than before. They were open to the negotiating process without any prejudice, without any condemnation of what had been done in the past. It was completely different than the previous contact with the U.S. side. He added that he would like to meet U.S. President Trump in person, but that the meeting would need to be prepared. Before his election, President Trump said that he could end the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours of taking office. But his position has changed since he took office, and Putin has emphasized that this was perfectly normal. He said that there was nothing special about President Trump's back-and-forth position change. President Trump changed his position when, as president-elect of the United States, he started getting information, objective information, from the intelligence community and other agencies. This information changed his approach. Putin also told TASS that the plan of the U.S. side is that the negotiations on the settlement of the Ukrainian conflict should be conducted with the participation of both Russia and Ukraine. Putin said that this is what President Trump told him in a phone conversation. Putin also explained that Russia had never rejected talks with the Europeans, and it was they who had refused to talk to Moscow. Putin said, "We are not imposing anything on anyone. We are ready. I have already said this 100 times. If they want, please let these negotiations take place, and we will be ready to return to the table for negotiations." Putin also said that President Trump continues to be in contact with European allies on this issue, and the Americans are discussing it all with them. No one is excluding Ukraine from this process. Therefore, there's no reason for such a reaction to the Russia-American meetings. Putin's response was a reaction to recent comments by Ukrainian President Zelensky. Zelensky, who is very unhappy with the contacts between Russia and the United States, complained that Ukraine was not invited to the talks. Zelensky claimed that President Trump lives in this disinformation space fostered by Moscow. Zelensky said, "We have seen disinformation. We understand that it is coming from Russia. But if we look at it rationally, there is really no reason for him to complain." President Trump met with Zelensky before the election, and he met with Zelensky again after his campaign victory. President Trump talked to Zelensky several times before and after he was sworn in. President Trump also appointed a special envoy from Ukraine to Kiev after his inauguration, and he appointed Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio to meet with Zelensky in Munich. And the Russian side was not invited to any of those meetings. And immediately after President Trump spoke with Putin last week, he spoke with Zelensky to inform him of the conversation. Therefore, the U.S. side has not cold-shouldered Ukraine, nor has it excluded Zelensky from the conversation. President Trump has picked a tightly knit team this time around. That's why VP Vance immediately issued a stern warning to Zelensky, saying that this public denigration of President Trump will only backfire, and it will not change President Trump's position. Vance said during an exclusive interview with the Daily Mail, "Everyone who knows the president will tell you that it is an atrocious way to deal with this administration." Vance emphasized that President Trump's comments were not based on Russian disinformation. He said that this is the policy of the President of the United States. It's not based on Russian disinformation. It's based on the fact that Donald Trump, I think, knows a lot about geopolitics, and he has a very strong view and has had a strong view for a very long time. Vance also said Zelensky had been getting bad advice on how to deal with the new administration. In the past 3 years, Zelensky has been told that he could do nothing wrong. Vance also said, "We obviously love the Ukrainian people. We admire the bravery of the soldiers, but we obviously think that this war needs to come to a rapid close." The Australian federal election is less than 4 months away, and Australian mining magnate Clive Palmer was inspired by President Trump to come out and save Australia. On Wednesday, he announced the formation of a new political party, the Trumpet of Patriots Party. His party's goal is to make Australia great again. His philosophy is similar to President Trump in many ways, recognizing only 2 genders, male and female, opposing mass immigration, and draining the swamp. He said, "We don't want men in women's sports, and we don't want males dressed as females confusing our children in our schools." And he praised President Trump's policies for being effective in getting management back on track. Palmer told a news conference announcing the launch, "We think Donald Trump's been very effective in reducing public expenditure." The party is expected to run candidates in all lower house and open Senate seats. Clive Palmer is ranked 18th in Australia on the Forbes list of billionaires with a net worth of $2.1 billion. He previously led the United Australia Party, and he served as a federal member of the House of Representatives for 3 years from 2013. Premier Anthony Albanese has not yet announced a date for the vote, which could be as early March. The Albanese administration's approval ratings have been declining due to the rising cost of living. Palmer accused politicians of being too cozy with one another and of their failing to serve the needs of their electorates. He said that politicians have picnics and socialize together on weekends. The opposition and the government don't really dislike each other. They actually fit in. Palmer said that's why Australia hasn't had real democracy. That's why we've had a uni-party for many years. And that's why we haven't brought the hard questions to government departments like Elon Musk is doing in Washington at the moment. Although Palmer's previous party did poorly in the last election, the current situation is harder to predict. To SM's Chris Smith asked, "Who's to say that Clive Palmer won't rip the heart out of the Conservative vote and steal numerous seats at this election?" And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.